The Whispering House. In the sleepy village of Darnwick, nestled between the moors and dense pine forests of northern England, stood a house no one dared enter. The locals called it Black Hollow Manor. For over 70 years, it had been left untouched, a relic of a forgotten era, its stone facade cloaked in ivy and shadow. Children crossed the road when they walked past it. Teenagers dared each other to touch its rusted gates. But no one, not even the drunk or the mad, ventured inside. That changed when Thomas Greenfield, a 35-year-old London writer desperate for inspiration, bought it. Thomas wasn't like other people. He didn't believe in ghosts, curses, or whispers in the dark. He believed in deadlines and word counts. After 2 failed novels and a dwindling savings account, he figured a change of scene might spark something. A writer's retreat, he told himself. Something isolated, atmospheric, where no one could distract him. Black Hollow Manor seemed perfect. The villagers warned him, of course. The old butcher leaned over the counter and whispered, "She whispers at night, you know." The lady in the walls. The librarian, a stern woman with cloudy eyes, said, "You'll hear them scratching under the floorboards. Don't answer them." Thomas smiled politely and ignored them all. He moved in on a gray October morning. Fog clung to the house like spiderwebs. The front door groaned as he pushed it open, revealing dust-thick air and antique furniture shrouded in white cloth. The place smelled like mold and old secrets, but Thomas loved it. It had character, history, soul. By the end of the first week, he had written more than he had in months. Words poured from him, stories that felt raw and alive. He barely slept, barely ate, just wrote, until the whispers began. At first, he thought it was the wind, a gentle murmur drifting through the halls at night. It came from the corners of rooms behind closed doors, beneath the floorboards. Sometimes it sounded like laughter, other times, like someone sobbing. He recorded the sounds on his phone, but in the morning, there was nothing. Silence. One night, unable to sleep, he followed the sound. Candle in hand, he wandered the halls. The house seemed to shift around him. Rooms stretched longer than he remembered, staircases twisted. He found himself standing outside the basement door. The whispering was loud now, urgent, hungry. He tried the handle, locked. The next morning, the door was gone. Not locked. Gone. As though it had never existed. Thomas laughed it off. Lack of sleep, too much coffee, imagination running wild. But he started sleeping with a light on. And then came the scratches. They started in the walls. Light at first, like mice, then louder. Claws raking across plaster and wood. He'd wake to deep gouges along the hallway walls, as if something had tried to crawl its way out. Then came the dreams. He dreamed of a woman in black, her face hidden behind a veil. She stood at the foot of his bed, unmoving, whispering, "Find me." Every night, the same dream. Every morning, more scratches. And the stories he wrote, once full of life and creativity, grew darker, twisted, as if he were merely transcribing something not of his own mind. He began to research the house's history. The villagers were reluctant to talk, but eventually he uncovered the truth. In 1912, a family named the Morleys lived there. Edward Morley, his wife Lillian, and their daughter Abigail. Edward was a wealthy industrialist, a cruel man by all accounts. Rumors said he kept his wife locked in the house, forbade her from seeing anyone, even her daughter. One night, the entire family vanished. No bodies were ever found. The manor was left to rot. Thomas became obsessed. He searched every room, tapped on every wall. One night, while exploring the attic, he found a loose floorboard. Beneath it, wrapped in a rotting bedsheet, was a diary. It belonged to Lillian. Its pages were stained and brittle, but legible. It spoke of madness, isolation, abuse, Edward's cruelty. How she would talk to the walls when she had no one else. How she began to hear them whisper back. How she found comfort in the dark corners of the house, where the voices promised her freedom. The last page chilled Thomas to the core. He says, "I must give blood for silence." that he will take the child and leave me be. But I cannot let him have her. I will hide her in the walls. She is safest there. Thomas dropped the book. That night, he dreamed again. But this time, the woman was closer. Her veil was gone. Her face was missing. A hollow cavity where eyes and a mouth should have been. She reached for him, screaming. Not with her mouth, but with his own voice. He woke gasping, blood trickling from his ears. The next day, he began tearing the house apart. He smashed through the dining room wall and found a small, bricked-up chamber. Inside was a child's skeleton, curled into a ball, clutching a porcelain doll. The whispers turned into screams. The house groaned as if in pain. The walls wept water. Doors slammed. Windows shattered. The fireplace roared to life on its own. And through it all, that terrible disembodied voice echoed, "You found her. Now finish it." Thomas fled. He ran through the moors, barefoot and bleeding, until he collapsed at the edge of the village. The locals found him raving, clawing at his own throat. They sedated him and took him to a hospital. He never returned to Black Hollow Manor. A year later, a documentary crew investigating haunted locations filmed a segment there. Their footage was never aired. The last frame showed a woman in black standing at the window, veil lifted, face hollow. Today, Black Hollow still stands. The locals say you can hear typing late at night, coming from the upstairs study. They say a candle flickers in the window, even though no one lives there. And if you stand close enough to the walls, you might hear her whisper, "He let me die. He left me here." Some say Thomas never escaped at all, that what ran out of the house that night was not him.